And are you well prepared, Markus?
I hope. I try to set up all the monitors and keyboards on the right way. So
Let's see.
Right.
To have a good look to the screen for presentation and at the same time to see what happens in the room and what's the next slide, and hopefully all the switches between the demo and the presentation will go well. We will see.
Well, wasn't it last week the internet went down on the presenter, Gene?
Yes.
Right in the middle of the presentation, his internet goes down.
Yeah, I have no idea what was going on, and it happened twice, right? Yeah. Sorry about that, guys.
You can't plan for that kind of stuff. I mean, you know.
Yes, but these are things that are out of our control, right? But I hope this will not happen again. So let's start. Welcome everyone to Cloud Data Driven Online User Group. Who am I? I am Jean-Joseph, currently working as a data engineer. I've been in IT for over 18 years. I started as a network administrator, then I moved to database administration and development. After that, I moved to data engineering. I'm currently located in New Jersey, originally from Haiti, and I'm your host for today. The rules are you guys are free to comment. For your information, I have your chat box turned off, so this way you guys can have a direct conversation with the speaker, because we are not doing it in person, it is online. I would love you guys to interact instead of texting. And I would highly suggest you to leave your video and microphone off. We encourage you to follow us on social media. And then our presentation for today is Marcus will show you how can you scale your Power BI with Dataflow. Marcus, it is an honor to have you.
Thank you.
And Marcus will introduce himself, and he will tell you more. And by the way, Alexander and everyone else, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
If you guys, we do have a tons of other presentation lined up. However, our next one will be on performance tuning and beyond the basic select. I would highly suggest you to go and register. If you guys want to present a session, feel free to email me at gene.joseph@bigdatadriven.org. Marcus, the floor is all yours. You can start sharing your screen and start with your presentation. One more time, thank you all for your participation.
Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Could you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. It's an introduction slide for this. Okay, I want to introduce myself. I'm Marcus Wegener. I'm a senior engineer for business intelligence. I always love to have fun with Power BI. So you see my slogan here. I'm the Power BI Ranger for your data explanation. And maybe you recognize me already on LinkedIn. When not, please follow me. I'm also on Twitter, and I have an own blog, www.thinkbi.de. I'm generally blog in German because I think there are not so many articles out there in German, less than in English. But sometimes if I think I have a great topic, I write my blog post in English so you can read it very well. I'm certified in different ways. I have a certification in data management and analytics. I'm part of the Power BI community as a super user, and I also have a certification as the data analyst, so the Microsoft Power BI certification. I'm from Germany, so only as overview, I'm on the other side of the Atlantic. We are 6 hours ahead from New York time, And let's talk about my work experience. I start with an education as computer science expert for the subject area of software development by the Chamber of Industry of the Commerce and Commerce Dortmund. So yes, I know how to develop software. I do that for 7 years as a full stack developer. That means I get a broad knowledge about technique and methods. So I have done database programming and interfaces for web services or file services, import, export data to the database. I also create web interface for the user to enter the data and also put reports on this. After that, I decide that I want to change my career in the part of business intelligence. So I get a job as an in-house BI and consultant and developer on base of Microsoft SQL Server. There I get in contact with Alexander and decide to do this as an external part, as an external senior engineer, business intelligence, on the base of the Microsoft technology at the KUMAVISION, and that's now 8 years I work for the KUMAVISION. What's KUMAVISION? That's our headquarter in Markdorf. We are a Microsoft partner I think in everything we brought to our customers. We are gold certified. That's mean we are gold data analytics. We are gold enterprise resource and planning. We are gold for cloud platform, gold for data center, and gold customer relationship management. These are our locations. So we are mainly focused on the German-speaking part of Germany, Austria, and Switzerland for the KUMAVISION AG. The other part, we have a KUMA group with EOS inside. It's a company in Italy, and together we are the KUMA group and bring are one of the most biggest implementation partner for Dynamics NAV in the world. Okay, what's our product portfolio of KUMAVISION? So we have all the technology from Microsoft on board. You see Dynamics Sales, the Office components, Office solutions, cloud services, to Microsoft SQL Server, the collaboration platform like Teams and business intelligence. And we all bring this software and solutions together as an industry solution for our customers. In the same time, we are very proud to be part of the inner circle of the Microsoft Business Intelligence application. So Microsoft already noticed us and bring us nearer to this inner circle. The other part is I'm not alone. We have a BI team in our company. We are 6 people, all 100% certified. We are very proud about this. And in the next slides, if I show you our solutions, it's not all my work. I show you sometimes one of our my colleagues have contributed this solution, and I only present it. Okay, what are our customers? Our customers are the German Mittelstand. It means it's our small and mid-sized enterprises. And if you see on this side from the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs and Energy, there are nearly more than 99% of all firms in Germany belongs to the small and mid-sized enterprises, and the companies account more than the half of the economic output. Yeah, so it's a big part of our industry and are very important. But in the same time, we have some, or in my mind, we have some challenges with our small and mid-sized enterprises. Mostly for data and analytics, they are a low budget. I think the small and mid-sized companies have only few to none data specialists in his companies. So sometimes they have no or only a few IT staff in their companies, and sometimes they have no or few controlling employees in their companies. So that means we need a simple environment where they can analyze their data and how they can manage these things by their own, and it must be on a low budget. If we look to the Microsoft part of, or in Microsoft, you maybe know this slide. That's the modern data warehouse architecture designed by Microsoft with all the components. So we have something here in front of the data. There's the Azure Data Factory, where we extract the data from the sources. We store this data in the Azure Data Lake. We can transform this data in different ways and store it again for the next use. Then maybe we put a semantic model on this and we consume it with PowerBI as reporting and analysis, as a reporting and analysis tool. The point is, if you go to the price calculator and say that you want to use this approach as template, you see the price. It's about $12,000 a month, and that is a little bit too high for our customers. Okay, we can skip some of the services, but however, this price will be a bit too high. So we have to change this view. And now I want to show you our classic Microsoft BI architecture, which we used before we have Power BI and the cloud environment. So in this architecture, we had an SQL server or my Windows server where we can we install it our SQL server on. So we have the integration services for the ETL process. We store the data in the SQL database in the DBMS system. Then we can put a semantic model on top of the database on our data warehouse. And after that, the people can consume the data with reporting services and Excel. So I want to show you how it looks like. So at first, we have to set up a a data warehouse with SQL. So we have to make a concept about a staging area where we store the data and how we store our transform data. So we need SQL skills to write this the stable structure and make the relationship between the data. After that, we need the integration services skills to create import packages, to load the data from the source systems to the data warehouse, transform them, and load it to in the next area of the data warehouse. After that, we need analysis services skills to model the cubes in that way that we model the dimensions, we create the measures and bring that together to the analysis services. Then if you want to make standard reports with reporting services, you need another skill in this way that you create reporting services reports and bring this to the server in a static way. Or if you want to analyze the data more flexible, you need an Excel connection to the cube, and then you can create reports in Excel and make analysis with pivot tables on it. But I think you see in this steps that this is very technical, and it's far away from that point that a business user or a small company can handle all these components by themselves. So they need more knowledge or an external consultant and have to buy all these parts. So in nowadays, it is possible to make it much more simpler. And we call it here the Power BI architecture sample. I use the same design like the modern data warehouse, and I want to shift all the parts of the transformation I have seen in the following slides to the Power BI part. So there's an ATL part in our model, and this is done by Power Query. Then we store the data in this part in a semantic model, that's the Power BI dataset, and we can serve the measures and structures and data with the reports and dashboard inside from Power BI. So as KUMAVISION, we provide our customers so-called Smart Start templates. In this Smart Start templates, these are pre-confirmed configured models, and you see here on the screen there are parts of the purchase, stock, production, sales. In the same way, we have pre-configured models for the cash flow part, for the customer OPs, open postings, yeah, for the income outcome statements and balance sheet for the vendor OPs and other branch like the retail branch in our case, or the healthcare branch. In this Smart Start template, you can see there are predefined reports. This reports show you the functionality and all the possibility how you can design reports with Power BI, with bookmarks, with tooltips, and other cool stuff. In the same way, there's already prepared star schema. You can see all the data are well prepared, and we think this is our best practice approach. And now I want to show you a small extract of our solution wait a minute, this here. So I have made a small extract. It's interesting to know we have here the sales invoice, and we add two-dimensional tables in this model. At one point, the salesperson dimension, and on the other side, the customer dimension. And here you can see the salesperson are also part of the customer dimension. So you can look to the information which customer is assigned to which salesperson, in the same way which invoice was booked or posted with which salesperson. If we go to the data model, our templates are predefined with some parameters, so you can easily change the parameter for your system, and the data will be loaded through our template and shows your figures. There's another nice trick here. I tried this. We made a query which is disabled from load. I can say here it's not loaded, and this is we called it an SQL connection, because you see it here. It will list all your tables which are in the database. By the way, this is the structure of the tables of a Business Central system. So here in front of you have the company, then here's a table and an app ID at the end. And from this point, we are creating our queries. So we make a reference on this and filter the list to the table we are interested in. So let's look for the vendor table contains DORA. You get all the tables which belongs to the vendor, and let us see, there is here's the right table, and if we are interested in the data, we can click on this table table link, and this will load the full table with all columns. This connector is very helpful because the navigation inside from Power BI is limited to 10,000 tables in one database, and with this construct, the Business Central database have much more tables, and if you use this connector, you can really get all the tables you need, and it's very easy to filter on it. So I will remove it. I show you some of the concept on the here on the left side. So we separated our tables or our objects in that way that we have here a parameter. We have the connection I show you already, and here we separate the dimensions from the fact tables, and we have some staging tables or queries. These are queries we are not loaded to the data model, so we use them only as a sub-query for other queries. In this case, I will show you the customer query. So here on the right side, you see the applied step. So from the source, from the connection, we selected the right table. Then we remove all the unnecessary tables from the SQL table. We only use the columns that we need for our query. We make some transformation. We combine the tables, this main table, with all the sub-query or lookup tables. So we denormalized this query to one big dimension table. And at the end, we have this full set of data which we will load to our data models. So it's important to know that we split it up, and we do all this transformation. Really important, the denormalization of the dimension table here in our model. Good. That was a small introduction to our Power BI only simple architecture. For our customers, we provide this template. We give them this templates, and if sometimes a customer have more than one company. So our first idea was, okay, install it twice. So you can take the template, connect it to the first company, fill it up, and you get the report for your company 1. And then take the template again, fill it, connect it to the second company, fill it up with the data, and get the second report. But yeah, normally the customers think another way, and they say, no, I want to have all the data in one report. So yeah, it's possible to add this data in one data set, but it will become a lot of tables, and so we have made a prototype, or we will use it for a short time. I will see. That's here. We have done some changes in this new file. So we set the parameter in a different way. We add a semicolon between two companies. So we have now a company Kronos Germany and Kronos US in this model. We have some helper functions here. The one table or the helper function now, yeah, let us see it here. They have 3 parameters. One parameter is the company parameter. You can insert here the company string with the separate companies by delimiter. On this second parameter, you can add the table you want to load from both companies, or third or fourth companies. And as the last parameter, you have to insert the SQL connection or this query, so that you get the connection to the database. Oops, no, that is not what I want. I want this. So if we look to one of these queries, maybe the salesperson is a good example. You see, we now load the data from 2 companies. Here you see I zoom in. In the first part, we have the German company data, and in the second part, we have the US company data. Okay, they are really same. Let us take a look to the source of the query. Here you see there is our function get combined tables of all companies. Here we add the parameter from the company. We told the function that we want to load the salesperson purchaser table with our base app ID and insert the SQL connection string. The magic behind this, I can show you this here in this query. I transform this this function back to its several parts. So in this case, the first step we do is we look to our SQL connections and select all tables with the same name. So you see here we have 3 companies with the salesperson purchaser table. Then we extract the company from the list or from the table name, so that we get a list of all the companies which are in this list. Then we filter this list with the based on the parameter company, so that we only get these 2 tables we want to analyze. We reduce the fields so that we only have the data in company fields. And here is the last thing, that's the magic. Our student was built up. There is a function to combine this table, and the interesting part of this is that all the field types from the database is already there. If we make a copy of this query and I show you another way, let me duplicate this query. So if we remove this step and go the easy way and say, okay, I want to expand the data, and maybe I want to use all these columns. Maybe I can zoom in. So I was clicking on this expand symbol, and I say, okay, I'm interested in all these fields, and press OK. You see all the columns here have the any type. So in this case, if we expand the table in the easier way, we lose the information of the data types. So our student was creating another function which provides a statement to enfold the table with also the data type information. Okay, let me see. This, okay, yeah, another thing, only to mention it, by all the things we have done, it's still possible for Power BI to make the query folding happen. So if you click here on the native query part, I will zoom in. You see here the SQL, but I think you can guess if you combine two companies or two companies with the SQL on every step, the SQL query get very complicated. And so this is one of the limits. You can maybe combine 3 or 5 company with this method, and they must be on the same database, but this will become very slow. Okay, zoom out. Yeah, okay, this was the demo for that. So we decide to do another approach, and we want to use the data flow. So this is another component from the Power BI part. I combined this part, so data flow is a part of the functionality of Power Query as an ETL process, and same time it's a part of storing the data in an internal Azure Data Lake Gen 2 part of Power BI. So this is together is the whole data flow process. I split it only up to say, okay, the Power Query part is the ETL part, and then we can use this data for our data model in the semantic model and bring it to the reports. So I want to show you here the demo. Okay, you see we are back in the simple mode. We only have one company here and all the queries, and I don't know if you know this, you can mark all these queries at once and say copy and switch to the Power BI portal. Here is the place where you can create your data flows. Maybe I zoom in. So I'm in a workspace. This workspace is actually empty. You press on new, say I want to create a new data flow. I want to define my tables for the data flow. This data flow, I only zoom out, you have different data source you can use. We don't have to define a special source because our queries are already in the memory from in my clipboard. So I use an empty query. Say next. In this window, I remove the empty query. Delete it, and yeah, if you say passed in this context menu, you will get a message that you have to press Ctrl V. So I will do this, and the magic happens. All the queries are copied to the data flow part and are available from here. Let us see what's the message here. I hope it gets the right connection. Let us see. It's running. Okay. We will see later. The other thing you maybe notice is this flash here on the customer table, and we get this information here above that tells us that this compute tables or compute entity, and this entity requires premium to refresh. Why is it? It's because we use the salesperson here down in the left. You see the salesperson table, which is also loaded as an own table here in the dimension part. So to avoid this, I will switch back to our slide. So this is the my workaround for the computed entities. So in the actual situation, we have here our construct in that way that we have one source table. We load the salesperson table here in our data flow, and at the same time we load the customer table in our data flow. Both are load enabled, and Power Query is trying to use this already loaded salesperson table as part of the combination from the customer table. This operation would be happened in the on the Power BI service part, and so we need capacity in storage and in CPU usage from the Power BI service, and so this is a premium feature. To avoid this, we can change our query in that way that we make a subquery for the salesperson, so all the transformation can be happened in the subquery, but it's not really loaded to the data flow side and stored there. It's part of the query folding. So you will once load all the salesperson during the load of the salesperson table from the source, and at the same time the customer, if the customer will be loaded, it will load the salesperson information again from the source side. I hope how to connect. Okay, that's okay. I only have to press that he should use the credential I already have in this portal. Hopefully it will come back. Oh boy.
This is what we call a demo, you know.
Yeah, this is live. That's nice.
Yeah.
That must be happens.
Especially you sharing your screen, Marcus. You know, sometimes when you're sharing your screen, it slow down on your process sometimes.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe
that happened to me multiple times.
I will switch back to the browser and it's come back. One moment. So now it's so it's back again, and we have our flash on the left side. And what we want to change is we disable the load from the salesperson table and rename it. We name it in that way because we want to reduce the name for a loaded version of this table. We bring it into our staging area, put a reference on it, bring it in our dimension part, and rename it as a salesperson. And now we see we have as dimension table our salesperson. In the same way, I hope it's will not load so long. We see that the customer table will come back with all the information, and I think this warning sign will disappear. But you see here in front of the table, there's no message that we need a premium capacity to use this query again. So it's easy to change, and it makes it possible to use Power Query without of the necessary need a premium capacity in that way. I will cancel this. We are back in our workspace, and I want to show you something more. Back to the presentation. Yeah, so our idea for the multi-company solution with Dataflow is we stuff all the data preparation part in the load of the Dataflow. That's cool because we can look separately on the transformation, and if the sources are different, we can do different transformation for the different sources. And if we have the same base in the data flow, we can combine this information again to one data set and put a report on it. Oh, no. So, no. Now I want to show you some cool stuff to bring this to the data flow part with PowerShell to optimize our work. So let me see, that is the presentation part 4, I think. Yeah. So you see we are back in the Power Query editor from the Power BI desktop again. I already have fixed here the issue with the salesperson. So we have a salesperson table here with a reference on this subquery, and the customer table is also looking on the subquery. And I switch. Oh no, wrong combination of table. I want to the front end of this file. Let me see. It's so I created a external tool by myself. You see it here in the part above in the external tool ribbon. There's a tool, I call it Publish to Dataflow. You press on the button and PowerShell script will open. Yeah, it was a wrong screen. It was started. This script is installing a package to connect to the TOM model of the Power BI desktop file. You see it here. It generates, it's extract all the queries from the Power Query part and bring it in a format for the data flow. Now you can log into your Power BI service with your credentials. Decide in which workspace you want to deploy your data flow. I use my speaking part. You can decide how to name your data flow. I would say it's Kronos DF. And for this demo, say create. The JSON is generated and published to the data flow. And if we switch back now to our web portal, it's refreshing and you see we have a data flow, save it out of our Power BI desktop part. And if we go through it, we see here are all the tables with the column information. And if you say add a table, you see, yeah, all the queries are here and can be loaded. So if you want to roll out this to more than one company, so you say you have one company as template company in this kind Germany DE. There's another, or we have set up another script, a PowerShell script. Let me see, where is it? Yeah, okay. This is a PowerShell EDI. We based on a script that was published by Datamark. And the script is able to update or move data flows across multiple workspace. Okay, I zoom in so you can see it better. So what's happened here, we define our source workspace. We defined our data flow we want to copy. And then we have here an array where you can insert your target workspace, your target workflow name, and change the parameters in that way that you say, I want to use this company name or this company for this data flow. You can add the database information here and yes, the database itself. We have make some character fixing in this part, and here is a replacement for the parameters. So if I use the script and say execute, it will connecting to my environment again. So it have to ask me for my credentials. Now it loads the source data flow from the system and change the parameters in this XML file, JSON file. I think it was a JSON file, and should publish it again to the service. Maybe, let us see. So hopefully, yeah. So you see another data flow appears, and if I go through this data flow and we look through the parameters here are changed to another company. So in this way, it's pretty easy to set up a data transformation for one company and to replicate this transformation on more than one company. To use this data flows, back again in our Power BI desktop file. We have here our functions again. It's a little bit changed, so we don't need a SQL connection anymore. It's very easy because we only connect to our tenant data flow part, and we are now able to request the resulting tables from the data flow. So there's the sales invoice, the salesperson, and the customer table. And if we look to our salesperson table on the right side here, there are only two steps. Step one, it's source, sorry, was not renamed. We calling our function. We say we want to load the data from our company list. That's the two companies we are listed here. We add the workspace prefix from which workspace the data should be loaded. And then we told the function which table we want to load in our Power BI desktop. And you see here, there's the list with the salesperson, and in the end, you see we have the data from two companies in this list. We add another step here. So we create a salesperson ID. So in this way, we avoid the duplicate values in the dimension and make a unique key for each salesperson. So we add the company name in front of the code and generates a unique key. The same happens to the customer table. The table is just a little bit wider. Oh, so I scroll to the end. You see here, there's the customer ID with the company information front of this, and the sales invoice table. We also add here the ID columns for each dimension, so that we can combine the salesperson from the German part with the German dimension values and in the US part with the US values. If we load this to our model, I will change to the right. You see here in the data model. Okay, we can upgrade it now. We have our star schema. We have both tables, and these tables are connected now through the ID column here and here. And if we look to our report, we see that the part of the sales is going to our salesperson PS, and here a part of the sales to JR. And let us put the, oh, that's not the way I want, the company to this report. Then we can switch through the company, so the sales from the German company is only made by this salesperson. If we switch, we see that the US sales was divided by these two salesperson. So yeah, so this was all the stuff I want to show you. Now I want to show you some thoughts about how to extend this solution if necessary. So one part you can add to this solution is that you expand your storage of the data flow with an own data lake. So the data flow is limited to 10 gigabytes in the Pro license. Fun fact on this, if you look through the portal, I will show you. Wait. Where's my browser? There. If you switch back to the portal, you in the group storage, you never will see your data flows here, or now you not seeing your data flow. So you don't know how many space the data flow is using right now. And I think we have seen a blog post by Matthew Roach that they don't monitor it by Microsoft. So I think you can go over the 10 gigabytes actual, and you will not recognize it. But if you want to make a connection or use the data files which are the data that are stored in a JSON format in the data lake with an external tool, you can expand your solution with an external data Azure data lake. The next step could be that you want to consume this data files with Azure Synapse, so you have more possibility to transform your data and to make it available on a serverless pool and make the access much faster, and can select or make your selections with an SQL statement. Maybe you want to remove your Power BI dataset with an analysis services part, so that you have more control over the data model and have a more enterprise ready data model. I think in Power BI Premium Microsoft is working on it, that the analysis services part from Azure and Power BI Premium is come together as one solution. And last but not least, you can change your data flow part with an Azure Data Factory and create your own JSON file in the data lake and have more control here in the ETL tool. And I think you can see it more and more. We're going to the part that our solution is looking like the modern data warehouse. And I think this is one of the great things. You can start with a Power BI only solution, and which in every time you need to expand one of the components, you can go more and more in that way that you have a modern data warehouse solution. So that's from me. It was fun to talk to you, and now I'm finished with my presentation. Thank you.
Great session, Marcus.
Thank you.
First of all, I learned so much. If you guys have any questions, you do have access to unmute yourself. Feel free to do that. And then Adam, go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, Marcus, for this great presentation. I have one question. So when I use a storage account from my to store my my Dataflow data, so I can go more than 10 GB of storage if I decide to store in the storage account.
Yeah, that's a possibility. Yeah, if you bring your own storage, you pay for the storage, and in this case, you can go over this 10 GB. I think in the same way, this 10 GB, I never tested, but I think the limit of 10 GB is coupled with your workspace, and so I've seen it's the same way you have the gigabytes for your Pro license. So you get 10 gigabytes per Pro user, and you can use this 10 gigabytes for each data flow and each workspace, but in some you don't are allowed to go over this 10 gigabytes per workspace, and not on you have so many gigabytes, you have users multiplied by 10. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a little bit complex, but it's a good way to scale. So if you are a small company and have 3 users, you have 3 gigabytes, and you can split it in multiple workspaces. And Microsoft, I think it will give you an information if you are over the gigabytes, but yeah, normally you have enough space. Yeah.
Okay. And the second question is, at what time I can decide that I don't even need a SQL database or a data warehouse, and I will move to use Dataflow, for example, instead of use a classic data warehouse.
Yeah. So Dataflow is not a real yeah. Data warehouse and Dataflow are very similar, but they have not all the functionality like a real data warehouse. So if you have the skills to manage and create an own data warehouse, you should do it. For us, the main part was that if we go to the cloud, it's very hard to find all the components we have on the on-premise SQL server. And on the on-premise SQL server with the standard version, we have the integration services, we have the SQL database, we have the analysis services, and we have the reporting service or Excel. The most companies already have Excel, so there's no extra cost. If we go to the Azure landscape, you have to pay for each service. You have to know how much data you want to transfer. You have to pay for every operation, and this is very hard to pre-calculate and say the customer the right price for his solution. And sometimes I think if you look to the Azure Analysis services in Azure, this is a very expensive service. So we decide to start with our Power BI only approach. most of our customers doesn't have already a BI solution, so it's very easy to say, okay, we only connect to our to the source system. We use or we know where are our limits, so we can't make a history of something or some. We always or mostly have a full load of data. This is one of the limitations we take in the Power BI part, but yeah, you always have to look through your requirements and have to identify how many money you want to spend on a specific requirement, or if you can leave this requirement and run your solution as a simple Power BI solution. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Pierre, feel free to ask your question.
Okay. Thank you for this presentation, this rich presentation. So I saw you show Azure architecture. So I would like to know the best way to estimate number of transactions in order to finally calculate Azure Data Lake and Azure Data Factory pricing without having ETL skills. I don't know if it's clear, my question.
It's hard to say for me. We don't have any calculation to estimate the cost for the data lake part and the Azure Data Factory part. I think the problem is if you look through the calculations out there, you have to know in which way you want to load the data, and I think for the Azure Data Factory, you pay per I'm not sure, minutes or so on. So every process you start, and you have to know how long it run and how many capacity it used. And for me, it's I think it's not really possible to calculate this without knowing a good knowing of timing for the load, and of knowing how much data you will transfer each load, and so on. And so we decide to use for our small enterprises the Power BI approach, because it's a great bundle. You pay per user less than $10, and you have to bring it all in this, so you don't have to think about what you have to pay for running one import. You only have to look if you fit, or if your import fits in the data load time from 1 hour, and if you have enough space to bring it in a workspace of 10 gigabytes, and if your data model is fitting in a data set of 1 gigabyte. And these are some limitations you have to sort about, but the calculation of the pricing of a data lake and Azure Data Factory, I find it very hard, and I never done it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. This was great.
Thank you so much. Marcus, is it okay for me to share my screen while you're still available to the questions?
What?
Can I please share my screen now?
Yeah. Okay, it's okay.
So this way, yes. Yes, sir. If you guys have any question, feel free to let us know. Are there any questions, guys? Let's give them 30 seconds. Marcus, if there's no response, we're gonna end for today. By the way, that was an amazing session, Marcus.
Thank you.
Yes, and I want to say thank you for putting all of this together. And first of all, there were a lot of people live with you. Out probably of 45 or 46, there's a good 30 people or 33 people remaining all the way to the end. You understand, that was an amazing session.
Yeah. Yeah, I hope there are some valuable things for everyone, and maybe we will share some of the solutions as a blog post or so on. So follow us on LinkedIn, and yeah. See you next time.
I will share the video. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. Don't forget to follow us. Share this meetup with your friends, and this session is being recorded. We will share the link with you. Thank you. Bye-bye, Marcus. One more time, Alexander, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for your time. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye
Bye.
bye.
Thanks.
John Joseph.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.